ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Monday, July 7th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Coming up today on the program, we're going to speak with the commissioner of the Mountain East Conference, Reid Amos. The Mountain East Conference recently extending an invitation to Shawnee State University to become the 12th member of the league. That's number 4. The 4th state that the Mountain East has expanded into. So Reid joins us in a few minutes. We're going to talk to him about that. But until then and after, we're going to get your text in. There's a lot to get into today. Of course, conference realignment continues, or at least in our corner of the world. I got a message earlier today, and I thought, okay, this is interesting. And it highlights growing chatter for a team out of the Mid-American Conference. We might have mentioned Ohio in a previous show, and I'm not sure that Ohio would actually make the jump, but there's some conversation going on. And again, it's summertime. We speculate, we talk about things, we address rumors. Is Ohio on the board? Possibly. Someone put Ohio's name on the whiteboard and say, okay, let's talk about Ohio as a possible member. Now, if that were to happen, I think it would be a better move than Louisiana Tech for one. It would get you into another state. Now, how much of Ohio would you really get into if you were the Sun Belt? It would be great for Marshall. You'd have a built-in rivalry. Scheduling would be so much easier. Having a close-by opponent only 90 minutes away, give or take. I don't know how fast you drive, but about 90 minutes. And it would just be a great pairing. But does it make sense for the Sun Belt? Does that help the Sun Belt? Does that help the television? And at the end of the day, sometimes that's going to be the determining factor. Does it help the television? There's travel considerations. There's expenses. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, you're looking to make an expansion into a market that's going to help not only grow the league fiscally, television-wise. It's got to make sense. But I like the idea, the concept. Okay, maybe, just maybe, Ohio's on the board. So I'm curious, if you had a vote right now, and I've added Ohio to the vote, would you say yay or nay? Texture says, Paul, Ohio is much better than La Tech. Get them Liberty and ECU, and how is progress on the Shoey, and where can we see pics of progress? We talked about that last week. If you weren't with us, you can go back and listen to the podcast. A couple of days ago, we spoke about, let me get the podcast. It's the July 2nd episode. You can go back. We spoke with Brad Farrell, who's the vice president of sales at the Thunder Trust. And the inside work is almost complete. The outside work will come soon. And I'm hoping that today, July 7th, and the first game's going to be in September, that there's plenty of time. Seems like everything's on schedule. Of course, this has got to be ready to go for the first home game. So that construction's going to begin soon. I'm sure that it's going to be an accelerated timetable. I mean, after all, you're putting new bathroom facilities in. You're expanding a little bit of the bottom part of the Shoey. You're putting new seating in. You're putting in the deck on the second level. I don't think that that's going to be too time-consuming of a project compared to building up a brand new building. So I don't think there are pictures online just yet, but that's where we are with the project. And if you go back to the July 2nd episode, Brad Farrell is the episode. We talked about that in detail, about everything that's happening with the Thunder Trust. So hopefully you can go back and listen to that. But that's where we're at with the Shoey right now. So to to the point of the listener. ECU, Ohio, and Liberty. And that would take you to 16. Or do you sit back and wait until it's time to negotiate the television package again? You look at the television package, you talk to your partners at ESPN, and you go, okay, what's going to give us the most value if we can make it happen? Does La Tech give us value? Does Ohio give us value? Does Western Kentucky give us value? Does Liberty give us value? What, as a platform, as a rights holder, what excites you and what gives you more opportunity to make money, and thus we make money? You might have those conversations. You might be having those conversations already, because don't think for a moment that the television network providers are not in on some of this. I don't think that ESPN is outright pushing, okay, hey, you should go to the Sun Belt or you should jump. I don't see those conversations happening. But what I do see happening is those conversations that evaluate what the value of the television package would be if this was the membership. If we presented you this membership, what do you think the future contract might look like? How much value would we get from X, Y, or Z? And I don't see the value in La Tech outside of the travel considerations. 3 schools in Louisiana just doesn't do it for me. 2's fine. 3, I don't think that you want to focus too much on having 3 programs in one state. You want to have a nice contained group of like institutions. Or some of you have talked about, let's just split the East Division. Oh, I don't see that happening. I don't think there's going to be a split from the East Division. I don't think there's going to be that big of a raid of the American. I could be wrong. But if the American gets raided, do you pull away some of the schools from the American and form a Super East and maybe a Super West division? That would be an interesting conversation to have. But we're going to turn our attention first to the Mountain East Conference. The addition of Shawnee State University expands the Mountain East into 4 states now, and that includes our region. We'll talk to the commissioner of the Mountain East Conference when we continue on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This summer, the fun heats up at Dave & Buster's. Introducing the all-new Summer Season Pass. Your ticket to unlimited gameplay all summer long. Now through Labor Day, choose the Silver Pass for unlimited weekday gameplay and 10% off food and drinks. Just $69.99. You want more? Upgrade to Gold or Platinum for weekend gameplay, up to 30% off food and drinks, and even weekly food vouchers. Don't miss out. Grab your pass today and level up your summer. Blackout dates may apply. Visit DaveandBusters.com for full details. The summer heats up at Dave & Buster's Huntington Mall.
It's Marty's Summer Days at Go-Mart. So hit the road and rack up the rewards. Stock up on snacks, drinks, and all the road trip essentials. And earn bonus reward points and tokens on specially marked items. Collect all 7 tokens and score an additional 5,000 bonus points. So what are you waiting for? Roll down the windows, crank up the tunes, and let the good times and points roll. Check out the app for details or cruise over to GoMart.com.
Looking for a secure savings account? Come to Desco Federal Credit Union and explore our latest offers. With great rates and top-of-the-line personnel, Desco ensures your money for at least $1 million. Relax and put your money where you know it's safe and growing. Desco Federal Credit Union is located at 1211 Carter Avenue and other locations in Ohio and West Virginia. Stop in or go online. An account at Desco is just what you need. DescoFCU.org.
Think summer. Think sunshine, lake days, beach trips, and all that sand, salt, and grime clinging to your car. That stuff doesn't just look bad, it can dull your paint, cause scratches, and even lead to rust. Protect your ride and keep it shining all summer long with a trip to Thoroughbred Express Auto Wash. Fast, easy, and built for real clean. Find a location near you by getting started at thoroughbredexpress.com. Join the winner's circle with Thoroughbred Express Wash, where your summer starts sparkling.
The Greenup County Public Library is wrapping up the summer reading program this month with an event that you won't want to miss. The wrap-up party will be held at the Greenup branch on July 21st, at Flatwoods on July 15th, and at McKell on July 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. at each location. Enjoy an evening of pizza, prizes, and fun with books offered for sale. For information on other great events this month, check out the Greenup County Public Library Facebook page or visit the website greenuplib.org for complete details.
Here's another Kinder Communications Community Chatter. Thunder on the Rivers coming August 20th through the 24th in Ironton. There'll be vendors, live music, and much more. It's sponsored by Red Hawk Magazine and Nighttime Rides. For information, go to thunderontheriver.net. Proceeds benefit Towers to Tunnels and Folds of Honor.
This Kinder Communications Community Chatter brought to you by Classic Liquors, your adult beverage headquarters in Huntington and Canova. Get it all through their drive-through. Classic Liquors, simply the best.
Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC W231 BS Huntington.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Let's turn our attention to the Mountain East Conference. A few days ago, a new member joined the Mountain East Conference, bringing membership up to 12, and that's Shawnee State. And so that moves the Mountain East into 4 different states. Also brings the Mountain East Conference a little bit closer to this side of West Virginia. And to tell us more about that addition is the commissioner of the Mountain East, Reid Amos. Reid, thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now to talk to you about this. An exciting day to add Shawnee State to the membership.
And we are very excited about Shawnee State joining the Mountain East Conference. They are so similar to our institutions, which came together originally when we formed the Mountain East in 2013. We wanted to put together institutions with similar enrollments, similar budgets, similar goals, similar capacities to compete. And when you take a look at Shawnee State, they are so similar to our institutional makeup, and not much of a change in our overall geographic footprint by bringing them in. And with Dr. Eric Braun, their president, and Gerald Cadogan, a former Penn State offensive lineman, who is now their athletic director, coming back home to the Portsmouth area providing leadership, we think they're going to be a great fit. And in not too much time, a highly competitive member of the Mountain East Conference after they join us in the fall of 2026.
You mentioned geography. That's been important to the Mountain East, not necessarily trying to just be a West Virginia conference. You've expanded and broached a lot of different opportunities when made available. So here's an opportunity to get into the state of Ohio. It also brings you to a different part of the state of West Virginia. Just how important was that to maybe have more coverage but still keep that footprint?
Well, I think it's very valuable what they bring to the table. As I'm sure you're aware, Portsmouth is part of the Charleston DMA. So they get their television, their television networks come out of Charleston. So they already feel connected to our geographic footprint as an institution. And it makes a lot of sense on our end as well to have an institution that is already part of not only our geographic footprint, but our media footprint. And we try and do a lot from a media standpoint to help promote not only our athletic departments, but our institutions in general. So we found Shawnee to be very valuable in that way. The only pockets of West Virginia, though, we're now going to be extended into 4 states once we get back into Ohio with Shawnee State, with Frostburg State in Maryland and Point Park in Pittsburgh. and Shawnee State in Portsmouth, Ohio, and 9 West Virginia schools. The center of our geography is obviously West Virginia institutions, and so the Huntington market is going to hopefully be a little more tied to what we're doing in the MEC. Of course, Huntington will always be a Marshall first town, but there are a lot of West Virginia-based student athletes that compete throughout our conference. So we see a lot of value in bringing Portsmouth in from a geographic standpoint, from a media standpoint in particular.
And there's always that opportunity, not necessarily in the major sport of football, but in other sports, there's always that crossover opportunity, and it just makes more sense with the travel and keeping the money in state. That always comes up when people talk about scheduling exhibition games or non-conference games.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have 23 sports in the Mountain East Conference, and our institutions range from a little over 1,000 students to upwards of 4,500. And so, when you're talking about smaller enrollment institutions like ours, student athletes make up a significant portion of the student body on any particular campus. And I think as a result, we have a highly engaged board of directors. Our board of directors, as required by the NCA, is the president of our member institutions. And so, to your point, there's a lot of value for us in having more institutions that provide more of the sports that we operate. The NCAA requires that you have at least 6 institutions competing in a sport to have a recognized conference championship in that sport, and to offer 23 sports. Our current 11 institutions, at least 6 of them have to be participating in all 23 for it to be recognized as an NCAA sport and have funding associated with that to operate the sport at the conference level, in addition to the sports that have automatic qualification to the postseason, access to AQs. And Shawnee State is going to do nothing but solidify that, as they will bring 19 of our current 23 sports to the table. They're going to start playing football by the 2028 season, which was a crucial piece because managing football schedules can be a very expensive endeavor, because so many conferences, once you get past the first couple of weeks, if they've got an even number of institutions playing the sport, they play a closed schedule for the remainder of the year, which leaves you to trying to find non-conference games against other conferences that have an odd number of teams. And so this helps us solidify football. And if you solidify a football schedule, you solidify the funding for all of your other sports as well. So, Shawnee State, wanting to get into the football business for many years, they're excited about bringing that to the table in 2028. And they're going to look at adding a couple of the other sports that they don't currently have. So it's going to be a win-win for everybody involved, I believe.
Reid Amos is with us, the commissioner of the Mountain East Conference, Shawnee State becoming the 12th member. How did this courtship begin? Was it a combination of both Shawnee State and yourself having conversations off and on, or were you looking as the commissioner to expand and Shawnee State fit the bill, or did Shawnee State look at the Mountain East first and wanted to obviously elevate its program and picked the Mountain East, which has had tremendous success over the years?
Well, so we've always valued being at 12 members as often as possible. There's a number of reasons for that. And our institutions have had that high level of success that you're referring to, despite the fact that we're consistently in the bottom third of operating budgets in most sports that are competed in by our MEC institutions. So, with that being the case, 12 creates efficiencies that help save dollars. That's why we've been focused on being a conference of 12 very consistently. The pandemic has caused some closures of some small colleges all across the country. At one point in the year to 2 years after the pandemic, small colleges were closing at a rate of, believe it or not, 1 per week. And so, unfortunately, we had 2 casualties as a result during that period of time, which you take a look across the country, as I said, over 50 closed in a single year after the pandemic. So I'm confident that what we do with athletics in the Mountain East Conference is helping to position the overall health, better position the overall health of our member institutions. I like to say nobody's deficit spending in our league to win a football game. What we're trying to do is create great experiences for good student athletes who graduate at a higher rate than the general population on Mountain East Conference campuses. And it gives them a chance to reduce the cost of their college education while pursuing a degree, which is heavily important to Division II student athletes. So 12, creating those efficiencies. Frankly, anything that divides by 4 allows you to create a lot of efficiency in the creation of a schedule that ultimately costs less. And if you're spending less on travel-oriented items when you operate a conference, that's more dollars that can go into providing more scholarships to student athletes, enhancing the experience that they have through funding operations better. So that's why we focused on 12. And when we had an opening, we assessed nearly 25 institutions. I think the final number was 23 in our original list that we assessed. And the more that we looked and the more conversations that we had, it seemed rather obvious to us that Shawnee State was as interested in us as we ultimately became in them. And we had great visits, great conversations with their leadership. And I think we are very, very confident that at the point of our announcement last week, that we've invited an institution that will be a great fit for the Mountain East Conference.
Commissioner of the Mountain East, Reid Amos, is with us. With college athletics still in flux, it's very fluid day to day. We don't know what new regulations are going to befall us, NIL, everything that, as a commissioner, you've had to deal with. How have you kept it together? Because the Mountain East doesn't seem to have problems. Now, you might tell me I'm wrong, but it just feels like the league always seems to do the right thing. It always seems to put out quality, competitive, across the board competition. I mean, on the surface, you've got a perfect league. How are you maintaining in such a challenging time, keeping Mountain East really probably one of the best conferences?
Well, those are some very kind words, and we've prided ourselves on being included in a list. I've heard some people talk about that the Mountain East Conference, has become a highly competitive NCAA Division II conference, even though, as I noted earlier, we don't have the resources that many other conferences have, but we have some advantages that we get to take advantage of too. Smaller enrollment institutions, higher percentage of student athletes on those campuses tends to make athletics more of a focus. And a lot of the towns that our colleges are in, many of them started as normal schools that were essentially teachers' colleges originally before growing into more generalized education. They're still small towns all these years later. And so the colleges and universities have a tie that's rather natural with the smaller communities where our colleges are in the small footprint that we talk about. So, we have a neutral site basketball tournament in Wheeling that outdraws many low Division I tournaments simply because of the level of engagement that we have in our communities. And with the small footprint, it's relatively easy for people to travel. And I think we do a good job of engaging the community and giving them a good product that they come out and support. And then that goes right back to creating more value in the experience for student athletes. So, I think a lot of our success has been focused on keeping the main thing the main thing. And if we focus on educating students and providing them with great experiences as they compete in their regular season and in the 22 championship events that we provide in our 23 sports, football plays for a regular season championship, and that's how they crown their champion. At the end of the day, I think we just focus on, again, keeping the main thing the main thing. And most of the problems that the NCAA is fighting is tied to money. And where is the money? It's largely at the Division I level, particularly in men's and women's basketball and football. That's still crucial to us at the Division II level, even though they are changing every day. At the Division I level, there's some new regulation they're dealing with. There isn't as much, the change is more incremental for us at the Division II level, simply because we're not part of the House settlement. It impacts us because of the trickle down from Division I, but the House settlement doesn't directly impact the day-to-day at the Division II level. Are there small name, image, and likeness opportunities at the Division II level? Sure there are, but we're not talking about signing the best offensive lineman at Alabama here. What it does do is it reminds me, I'm a former golf coach. My assistant coach was still a college student. Why? Because he started at a school that had a professional golf management program, and he gave lessons during the off season. And giving lessons during the off season caused him to forfeit his amateur status, which meant he couldn't compete in college. So I made him my assistant coach. In today's day and age, if it would have been properly managed, he would have been able to teach those lessons under name, image, and likeness legislation, and still would have been able to have a college career as a player. So as an economy of scale, that's more what we're dealing with. Smaller name, image, and likeness opportunities for student athletes. And frankly, at the Division II level, they're much more often self-generated, and the legislation now allows them to do that as compared to the pay for play, which it isn't supposed to be, but at the end of the day, it is to a large extent at the Division I level. But again, it's still crucial to us because of how much Division II is funded. Division II is by Division I. The current Division I men's basketball television contract is worth about $1.1 billion, I think is the current figure. And Division II gets 4.37% of that. So we operate on about $70 million a year. And roughly 2/3 of those dollars go to operate our 25 NCAA Division II national championships sports and events. And we do that largely at no cost to the participating institutions, where if you have success at the NAIA level, you're paying your way through travels to a national championship a couple of time zones away. And in NCAA Division II, we're footing the bill for all of that. And so, and that's, it's all relatively complicated, but the truth is, at the end of the day, overall, folks in Division II are largely satisfied with how things are. It's the certainty of Division I being able to navigate the difficult waters that they've faced being crucial to create certainty that allows us to continue to operate the way that we have.
My guest is Reid Amos. He's commissioner of the Mountain East Conference. One thing that I've always been impressed with the Mountain East is it's become a cradle of coaches, so much talent. And, of course, Marshall fans will know instantly Kim Caldwell, formerly Kim Stevens, one of the elite coaches in women's basketball in the Mountain East, makes the transition to Marshall, has a tremendous year, makes the move to Tennessee, and she's not just a one-off. You have those success stories all over your conference.
Yeah, we've been tremendously fortunate from that standpoint. Kim Caldwell is a leading example of that. She spent nearly a decade as the head coach of Glenville State in our league, and it was really enjoyable to watch her develop into an elite coach during her time in Glendale. And to her credit, there were opportunities that came knocking sooner than when she made the one-year leap to Marshall. I mean, literally, she went from Glenville State to Tennessee in a period of just less than 12 months, and which is pretty remarkable if you think about it. But she was very patient, waited for the right opportunity. The right opportunity in her eyes was the one that came at Marshall, and after middling success for decades in that sport, she hit the home run in 1 year. And because the question was, could a style like that really work at the Division I level? Well, I think her first year at Tennessee is showing that it certainly can, with players that she largely inherited. So they did a fantastic job this year, and she was very young when she took over the Glenville State coaching job. So was Joe Mazzulla when he took over the Fairmont State head coaching job, and they both had their first head coaching opportunity in the Mountain East Conference. And in the case of Kim, she played at Glenville State before they were a member of the MEC. And I think part of what our directors of athletics have done a wonderful job is being willing to hire a young, talented coach, providing them with their first head coaching job, providing them with great guidance and great support that puts them on that kind of a path. Now, in the next 12 years, are we going to have another head coach at the University of Tennessee and another head coach of the Celtics? Well, maybe not. But it isn't as if the successes stop there. Chris Grassi went from the University of Charleston directly to Marshall. Marshall isn't exactly a men's soccer blue blood and wins a national title in men's soccer. And Daniel Stratford, who took over Chris Grassi's program at Charleston and won 2 national championships with the program that he helped Coach Grassi build. He's now the head coach at WVU, and he got his program to the Final Four at the College Cup in NCAA Division I men's soccer. And Becky Burke was at the University of Charleston not long ago, and she just recently became the head coach at Arizona. So in the case of every one of them, they were a rather young head coach, if not very young head coach, at the point that they were hired in those roles, and look at where those paths have taken them. It's been a lot of fun, having been the founding commissioner, to see every one of those coaches and others, follow a path to great success.
My guest is Reid Amos. He is the commissioner of the Mountain East Conference, Shawnee State, the 12th member of the league as the league expands to its 4th state. So what's next for the Mountain East? What's coming up that maybe you're excited about that we should be excited about?
Well, we're getting excited about the 2025-26 season being just around the corner. Our membership's very excited about Shawnee State coming in a year from now, and preparations are already beginning for ramping up Shawnee State and bringing them in. So we'll have 2 institutions who are in the NCAA Division II membership program, which is a process that takes between 2 to 3 years. Point Park is in that process right now, and we're already seeing Point Park coming into the league, transitioning very well from the NAIA to NCAA Division II. They finished right in the middle of the pack of the Commissioner's Cup standings in their very first year in the league, and won our baseball championship, which provides an interesting side note. Many conferences don't allow a team to compete in their conference championships until they're eligible for the NCAA postseason. And I think in today's day and age, that's very short-sighted. And I had advocated from day one that we need to allow transitioning member institutions to compete in our championships, because they don't have that opportunity for NCAA championships. And we need to provide those student athletes with that championship opportunity at the conference level if they can't compete at the NCAA level. And it's as simple as, in the case of when Point Park won the MEC baseball tournament in May, just a couple of months ago, we designated with the NCAA that our runner-up gets the automatic qualification to the NCAA postseason. So we're not losing postseason opportunity at the NCAA level for any of our member institutions, but letting the new member institutions compete in our championships, which quite frankly allows them to become more competitive with members of our league sooner, as we've already seen in year 1 with Point Park, and I'm certain that we'll see when Shawnee State joins us a year from now. So that's a lot of what we're excited about. Our new members are making a splash, and quite frankly, a competitive conference. If you've got a high level of competition within a league among your membership, that usually is a great recipe for them having success in the NCAA postseason.
I agree 100% with that decision. I can't add anything to that. That was a great decision because, to your point, it helps the league because you're allowing that institution to have something to go after instead of just playing out the season. They were invested in winning that tournament, and it showed. So that was a great decision.
That's appreciated. It takes the whole membership to get behind any ideas like that. And they have, and they've embraced it. And it was the first time that somebody, we've had transitioning teams in and programs before. The first time that a transitioning team had won a conference tournament championship that would have come with an AQ. And Fairmont State is the runner-up in our tournament. Went and won a game in the NCAA baseball postseason. So, in my opinion, everybody gets better as a result of better competition, and that's our reasoning for it.
Reid Amos, our guest, Mountain East Conference Commissioner, Shawnee State, now the 12th member as the league expands. Reid, it's been a long time coming. I appreciate you making the time today so we could talk about the Mountain East, and I'm excited for the upcoming season.
My pleasure. Thanks for following it.
That is Reid Amos. He is a happy commissioner today. His 12th member, Shawnee State, will begin competition soon in the Mountain East Conference. We will open up the text line at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
The soundtrack to your summer is back. Mountain West 9th Street Live, downtown Huntington's favorite Friday night tradition. Presented by Michelob Ultra and White Claw. This Friday, July 11th, it's Collins Career Center night featuring 2 sets from the John Ingram Band on the Marsha OBGYN stage. The Little Caesars Kid Zone is back, and Gomart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks in the Marsha Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Mark your calendar for July 18th, the return of Jeremy Short. Join us July 25th for Souls of the Wounded. The Thundering Herd Rally is Friday, August the 15th. 9th Street Live is driven by University Ford and built by Cardinal Roofing. Every Friday night through Labor Day, Night Street in Huntington between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Sponsored by Delta Hotels, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, City of Huntington, Marshall University, Blinko Glass Company, Marshall Health Arena, and Kendrick Communications. This Friday, it's the John Ingram Band at Mount West Night Street Live. Be there.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
This time of year can be chaotic. Ashland Credit Union is here to help you keep up with new and used auto loan rates as low as 4.99% APR. Starting route. We'll help you find a vehicle that works as hard as you do. Visit our Ashland, Canonsburg, or Russell locations, or visit online at ashlandcu.org. Arrived. Wait, did we mention rates as low as 4.99% APR? Okay, good. APR equals annual percentage rate. Not all will qualify for lowest rate. Call 800-245-8112 to learn more.
Summer is here, and it's time to hit the road. Don't let worn-out tires, old wipers, or a weak battery slow you down. TikTok Tire has everything you need for smooth summer driving. From fresh tires and reliable batteries to quality wipers, TikTok Tire is your one-stop shop for your summer car care needs. Their expert team will keep your ride running like new, ensuring your car is ready for the road, no matter where you're headed. TikTok Tire at 2102 3rd Avenue, Huntington. TikTok Tire, summer driving made easy. Hurt at work? Tom Boggs is here for you in Huntington, and he's brought the expertise of Warner Law Offices with him.
Call 345-6789.
Buddy's All-American Barbecue is now in Milton. Enjoy all your favorite Buddy's classics like pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more on East Main Street in Milton. Buddy's All-American Barbecue, the home of great barbecue, ice-cold beer, and killer wings in Huntington and now in Milton.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We continue on with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. We open it up now at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Next up, texter says, Paul, I would love to see Ohio U come over to the Sun Belt. It would be a better fit than La Tech. So far, so good. A lot of positive discussion about Ohio joining the Sun Belt. Do you really think that Ohio would leave the Mid-American Conference? Didn't Ohio form the Mid-American Conference? It feels that way. A lot of positive buzz over discussion that maybe Ohio would be a better fit than La Tech. 304-396-TALK. Texter wants to know, Paul, exactly what renovation is happening at the Jones. So right now, and again, if you want a little bit more of a detailed look at what's happening, I had Brad Farrell on the other day. He's the vice president of sales at the Thunder Trust. And what's happening is that the Shoey is going to be opened up for fans, and there's going to be some premium seating there. So they're going to create premium space inside the Shoey on the second level. There's going to be suites. Brad talked about it the other day. There's going to be an opportunity to rent that space. Also, you can have more than one big space. You can divide it up a little bit. You can have multiple events going on. So there's plans to use that space, but of course you got to make the space more fan-friendly, because as it stood, it was a multi-purpose room. Marshall would bring recruits in on certain days, media would use the room and we would have weekly press conferences with then Coach Huff. And it really went from conference rooms to more of a multi-purpose room. And so now that's being expanded. There's going to be more of a usable space for entertaining fans, events, and that's happening inside. And now in connection with that, on the outside of the Shoey, there's going to be seating on the end zone side or end zone level. So down in the end zone of the Shoey, you're going to have seating. And there's also going to be expanded facilities in the end zone. That includes restrooms, I believe concessions maybe, but I know restrooms are going to be the big item on the end zone construction. And then above that, on the second level of the Shoey, there's going to be a deck. And so if you're in one of those spaces, you can watch the game from the deck. You can also entertain your guests. You can have party, whatever you want to do with that space if you've got tickets or you're renting the space. And so you can entertain in that space. If you're at a game, you can watch the game from that space or the deck, or you can sit in the end zone seating that's going to be on the bottom level of the Shoey. I'm sure it's going to be really a unique experience for Marshall fans because the team's going to come out running out of the entrance and you're going to be right there and you're going to have that view. The outside part, the construction as a few days ago hadn't happened yet, but it's going to because the inside part has to be done first. And if you want to, you can go back, and again, it's our podcast is available. You can go find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's our website as well, WRVC.com. And it's the July 2nd episode. And we talked about a lot of things, not just the Shoey upgrades. And that was with Brad Farrell, Vice President of Sales at the Thunder Trust. But he did highlight a lot of things that can be done with the facility. And, of course, renovation is in conjunction with the Thunder Trust to generate name, image, likeness, revenue. This is going to be NIL money, and this is to help Marshall stay at least competitive with its peer institutions in the Sun Belt. And, of course, if you can at least stay competitive with the other programs that you're competing with in conference, all the better. Unfortunately, I don't have photos to share. There's nothing that I can give you right now. If anyone has been spying on this project, if you post those on social, tag me at Paul Swann on X. I'd love to share those and we can talk about it further. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've got to take our last break, but when we continue, open text the rest of the way on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Builders, renovators, and organizers. Rent-A-Can portable restrooms and roll-off dumpster rentals is who you need. Whether it's a construction site, home cleanup, disaster relief, we've got you covered. Portable restrooms for convenience, roll-off dumpsters for waste. You fill it up, we'll haul it off. Fast delivery and easy pickup. Rent-A-Can portable restrooms and roll-off dumpster rentals. Rent-A-Can has the facilities you need. No job too big or too small for Rent-A-Can.
Discover the Tri-State's premier senior living community, Woodlands. Choose from a range of modern living options designed to reflect your unique, independent style. Embrace an active and vibrant lifestyle with plenty of activities, scenic surroundings, and friends to share them with. And rest easy knowing your future is secure with Woodlands Life Care Guarantee. Call 304-697-1620 or visit woodlandswv.com and meet your future neighbors and see what makes this community so special. Woodlands Retirement Community. Welcome to the neighborhood.
We're with Sue from Sue's Junk. And every Monday, it's an online sale.
Every Monday night at 6, we go through the store, we pick out 200 items. It's not an auction. I just hold it up, tell you the price, and if you're the first one to enter that number, you win. Come here and pick up your stuff. At the end, we have a cash drawing, so you might win $100.
Sue's Junk and Antique Mall, 459 Camden Road in Huntington. Don't miss Monday's online sale on Facebook.
It's country cooking in downtown Huntington at 9th Street Diner. 9th Street Diner is Huntington's only authentic country diner, located in the heart of downtown Huntington at 534 9th Street. Enjoy a home-cooked meal with their great daily specials like a classic Reuben, meatloaf, baked steak, spaghetti and meatballs, prime rib, and Taco Tuesdays. Pre-order their bread and rolls for catering. 9th Street Diner open Monday through Thursday 11 to 8 and Friday 8 to 8. 9th Street Diner, country cooking in downtown Huntington.
Our Kendrick Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
Mark Porter Chevy and GMC in Ashland. Home of the Car Ferry, online at markporterautogroup.com. Baum Lumber, your place for quality roof trusses, building materials, hot spring spas, lawn equipment, and more. Visit baumlumber.com. Go-Mart, go for good times, go for Go-Mart.
Big flavors, big savings, and top-notch quality only at Food Fair. We're bringing you the brands you love, plus exciting new exclusives. Try Springer Mountain Farms chicken, humanely raised and antibiotic-free. Stock up on Food Club for quality meals at a great value. Crush cravings with Craven flavor snacks, pizzas, and sweet treats. From family dinners to late-night snacks, Food Fair has you covered without breaking the bank. Visit foodfairmarkets.com today. Food Fair, delightfully local, deliciously fresh.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thank you, Dave. Don't forget, coming up weekdays, and including tomorrow, it's Metro News Talk Line, 10:06 on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter asks, is the scoreboard in the Shoey side also coming down? Yes, we've been talking about some of the upgrades happening at the Shoey building, and yes, that scoreboard is coming down. That's part of the renovations, and if the renderings are going to be anything close to what we're going to see, the deck on the second level is going to wrap around three sides of the Shoey. It's going to be on the front end of the Shoey. Also, it's going to be on the sides. And then there's going to be staircase that's going to get you back to the deck. So you could watch from the deck, or you can get on the deck, and then you can walk down to your seat in the end zone, and there'll be restrooms there as well. And there's also going to be access to concession. And that's the thing. It's going to be more of a premium experience. There's a waiting list to get a Sky Suite in the press box. I've always thought that expanding the press box might be a good move in the future. That, of course, is going to take funding. This is a project that can be done now and hopefully on time, and that's going to add a different experience. I wasn't a big fan of just having the deck seating where the camera well is, the camera shooting deck on the press box. I wasn't a big fan of that because there's not that many amenities to that. If you've had those seats and you've enjoyed it, let me know. But I'm right behind you looking down, and there are some tables there and there's some seating, and you get a different view. I just don't know how much of a experience that is. Now, the end zone seating, that's going to be a completely different experience. You're going to be right there, end zone seating. The Sky Deck, maybe if you really like having that experience, that's probably going to be the best thing for you. But I felt like that wasn't really a premium experience. This feels like a premium experience with the end zone seating. It's going to give the Shoey a completely different look as well. And obviously, the scoreboard coming down is going to give the Shoey also more sight lines. You're going to be able to look out in some of those new renovated areas and watch the game. And so that's exciting. Upgrades need to happen to Jones C. Edwards Stadium. This needs to happen. The other thing that needs to happen, and I know that every time I mention it, you cringe because you know it's true. People at Marshall probably cringe because those folks know it's true. Bathrooms. Bathrooms need to be updated and modernized, expanded. Create a environment at Jones C. Edwards Stadium that is second to none in the Sun Belt. And to do that, you also need modern bathrooms. That's it. That's the rant. I'm not going any further. You can contribute to it, but that's it. That's my ask. What's the number one upgrade to Jones C. Edwards Stadium? Bathrooms. And then the concourse. After bathrooms, concourse. And I still want to see Jones C. Edwards concourses kicked out properly, expanded. I want to see better points of service for fans. Because you ask a fan to spend money to come to a game, and those fans are going to be captive. They can't leave and come back. So you're asking those fans to come into the stadium and stay the entire time. You need to make sure that you have concessions for those fans. You need to have proper restroom facilities for those fans. You need to make it easy for the fans to go and buy concessions. You need to have a great selection. You need to make it easy to get in line, not miss the game, come back with your concessions. And, of course, I'm also looking for affordability. As fans, you know what? Sometimes an inexpensive drink and dollar dogs, all you need. Make it affordable for the fans, but also make it comfortable. Make the concourses clean, bright, inviting. Don't look at the concourses as just an entry port to the stadium. I want the concourses to be modernized as best you can with the old girl and not look so dingy. Well lit, bright, fresh paint, modern points of sale. Renovate the concession stands. Do everything you can, and then you can add the party deck on the other side. That would be my ask. And maybe that'll be a point of priority for the next athletic director when that individual is announced. We don't know when that's going to happen, but that's going to take some time. But obviously, that's the big ask for me after the Shuey building is finished. That's the next thing I would ask for. If you're going to ask fans to invest in the program, I would invest in the fans and truly make sure that the game day experience is a pleasant one, and make it easy to take my money. Make it easy. Have plenty of offerings for me. Have plenty of points of sale for me. Make it easy for me to get into the concession line and then get out. Texter says, Paul, it won't look well lit with the black signage, and the black end zones will always look dingy. Appreciate the text. We're going to leave it at that. We'll follow back up on this discussion thread tomorrow. Thanks for everyone joining me today. If you'd like to follow along on social media, I'm on X at Paul Swann. And, of course, I'll link you out there to all the other social media networks I'm on as well. Thanks for tuning in. Back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1.
Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC, W231BS Huntington.